to start by having you say and spell your name.
Okay, my name is Stanley Heidenreich, Heidenreich.
And tell me what unit you served in the 10th Mountain Division.
I was in the 86th Regiment, Company G.
And your serial number?
329-44179.
And your dates of service?
September of 43 to March of 46.
And the highest rank served?
Sergeant, Buck Sergeant.
Do you want to tell me a little bit about what your position was in 86G?
I was in a rifle squad, and when I became sergeant, or was made sergeant, that would put me, I wasn't the squad leader, I was the assistant squad leader. Staff sergeant is the squad leader, and so we were a rifle squad, and separated from mortar squads and machine gun type squads and so forth. And what do you need to know about what we did out there and so forth? Or
well, since we're here at Lake Garda, how about if you tell me a little bit about what you remember about being at Lake Garda in 1945?
Well, when we started up from the base of when we had crossed the pole and came up into this area, Lake Garda, we traveled up until we got to the point of where the not caves, but the tunnels are coming up through, and of course the Germans had those all barricaded and were in them, and the pitch of the mountain on each side was so bad that you couldn't climb up and over around them. So the only solution they came up with, the generals and so forth came up with, was to go out and go out in the water and come around them that way. So what happened was that they got some of the ducks up from where they had crossed the pole with, and brought them up, and the whole Company G was told that they were going to be putting the ducks and go out and come around the tunnels, and we came out and came in between tunnel 3 and 4, and but while we were out there, of course they were shooting at us like crazy, and all I could think of was, with all the gear that we had and everything, even though you may personally not have been hit, if the duck had been hit and had a sink, there was not a darn thing you could do but go straight to the bottom, just because of all the weight you had on yourself. And in that kind of weather, you couldn't swim in that water anyhow. And this, of course, happened, as you know, in the early spring of the year. And but we did land between tunnel 3 and 4, and were able to knock the Germans out of the tunnels. And above that, coming up this way, those tunnels, the terrain became more suitable to fight on the terrain, and that's what they did. And when we got up here to Riva, the town of Riva, I walked into one big hotel that was up here, and on the floor the Germans must have used it as a first aid station, because there was blood all over the floors, and there was, some bodies that they couldn't move and had died and things like that. And that was when they announced, announced that the war was had been signed over and ended. So from that day, why, everybody rejoiced, and what can I tell you? It was wonderful.
When you think about the fighting that brought you here,
Mm-hmm.
Are there any particular memories that really stand out as extraordinary things?
Well, I guess the worst, what I was afraid of the most, is when we came through the wooded sections of the Apennines, the Germans would shoot over shells that we called them tree bursts, because the minute they hit a tree or something, they would burst. So what happened is, that means all the shrapnel hit up here, or started up here and came down. So you really didn't have any protection, whereas if it had landed on the ground and burst, it goes up like this. And you could be on the ground and it would scatter over you perhaps, but with the tree burst, and that was one of the worst fears I had when we were going through all the trees and forest in the Apennines coming up. And I don't know, I bet you it was pretty close to 3 months before I ever got a bath or a shower. And you shaved every chance you had, or when you got a chance, which wasn't too often. But as tired as you would be, you just kept going. It was somehow I guess people develop an inner instinct or strength to you can't stop now, type of thing. And but I guess the hard part is you just hope that you're not going to be one of the ones that are going to get injured or wounded and so forth. And I was very fortunate I did not get wounded. And I don't know why or how, because my friends right around me within feet of me were getting hit. And so why I was spared or how I was spared, I have no idea, but I thank the Lord for that. In the 3 to 4 months that we were doing all of this, I got one leave and I went down to sort of an interesting side. I went down to Venice on leave. We had a 3-day leave and pass, and I went into a barber shop down there, and they used straight razors to shave with. And I got thinking, after he had put the lather to my face and started shaving me, I said, holy gee, supposing he doesn't like Americans. And but I was all right. Interesting. And excuse me, other than that, you had people in this in the 10th, and I'm sure with other divisions and other outfits, that all felt a very close comradeship with each other, and exists today, as you know from these gatherings that we have to come back over here to retour our trail through Italy that we fought on. And so other than that, why, I don't know if you need any other kind of information, or...
Well, can you think of a specific battle circumstance that's really memorable to you, something that...
Well, the most memorable one, it would be right here on Lake Garda. That's, believe me, I had goosebumps all the way through that. That was a horrendous thought in your mind, is to be out on a boat and being shot at, and you can't do a darn thing because rifles didn't affect anything on shore at that time, and that's all we had, of course. And so you couldn't fight back, and yet you were out there, and you were basically a shooting duck is what you were, a shooting target, that's what it was. And so probably that, to me, would be the most point in time that you feel scared and everything all the time when they're attacking you and shooting at you and so forth. But that would have been the most frightening thing for me.
What kept you going in the most difficult circumstances?
That's a good question. I don't know. We've been trained so well, believe it or not, that you keep going regardless. And this is what I think. This is one of the things that with our division that, and I'm sure with other divisions that, excuse me, if they're trained well and long, which we were. We went through some tough situations with D-Series and Camp Hale, and you just don't think of that. You just do it. And you've been trained for it and told what to do and how to do it, and we had good leaders, good captains that ran our companies, and sergeants and other top brass that you relied on, and they came up with the right things for us to do and ways to go and so forth. And that's I think was very important, because when you trust them and rely on them, then you'll do anything. And that's today. That's the same way today with the group that we have here, and that's why everybody stays together and comes on these back here to retrace our roots and so forth, and also the chapters that are all over through the United States. There's, I don't know, like 8 or 10 chapters of the 10th throughout the country, and we meet quite frequently, and like the New England chapter comes out to Colorado every spring, and I belong to the upstate New York chapter, and they have meetings periodically through the year where we have luncheons together and things like that, and just to be together primarily. Nothing that we're dramatically doing, but it's just that everybody likes to be together occasionally and tell war stories and all kinds of things like that.
When you think about the first engagement at Riva Ridge and Mount Belvedere, tell me about what you were doing during that period.
What I was doing? What do you mean, when we were in the actual scene of battle?
Yeah.
In the actual scene of battle? Primarily, well, that's a good question. You're fighting, you're moving forward all the time, and periodically you had to stop and you'd dig a quick foxhole if we're being pinned down or anything like that for temporarily, where they told us you got to stay and things like that. You think, how am I hopefully get through this, and which way are we going to go next, and how we're going to do it. And I know most of us, in some cases, threw some of our heavy stuff, when I say heavy stuff, our rucksacks down so we had less weight and we could move faster. You always kept your trenching tool, so you could take a foxhole, and your rifle, of course, or whatever type of weapon you were carrying. And but I guess the best thing you can say is that how are we going to capture these people, or fight against them and make them retreat and so forth. And probably that's the best thing I can tell you on that.
Let me follow up about where you were on Mount Belvedere or during the engagement.
I wasn't on Belvedere. I was at Riva Ridge.
Okay, can you explain what the objective was of your group?
Well, the objective was they had tried before, other divisions apparently had tried before, not apparently, I know they have, to take Belvedere, because whoever controls the high ground controls the approach of any enemy coming, because all you're doing is looking down at them, and as soon as you see them you fire on them, and they don't have a chance. So Belvedere was one of the prime targets that apparently other divisions had tried in the 5th Army to take and were repelled. And when we were brought up, they figured that before Belvedere could be taken, Riva Ridge had all the outposts up on it that could spot anything coming right up the valley, and because of their elevation and so forth. And they figured if that's taken out, then Belvedere wouldn't be easier to take, but could be taken, because they weren't getting any direction from the German outposts up on Riva as to what was happening.
What did 86G do during?
We were assigned. I didn't actually get up on the top of Riva, because another company was assigned that, but we were assigned at the base of Riva. When they brought us in at night, and any place we could find, farmhouses, barns, haystacks, whatever. And during the daytime, of course, we couldn't move around because the Germans could look down and see any activity. And so during the daytime, you stay hidden, and at night you could roam around a little bit, but not much. And the other companies were assigned to the rock climbers were assigned to find a way up, a route up Riva, which they did, and they drove in their pitons and so forth, where they had to put ropes in, and which wasn't all the way up, but in different sections that was rough. And they did this at night, and the way they had enough daylight, of course, and as you probably have heard, what they used to do is shoot these large, I call them lamps, lights that up in the clouds that created a moonlight effect, and that allowed those going up to set the pitons and put the ropes in and so forth to see what they were doing. And to keep any noise down from that, what they did, they wrapped leather around their hammers when they were driving the pitons in, so there would be no clanging noise from hitting metal against metal. And then once that was set, that's when, and I'm not sure which company went up, the next night they had the night climb. And
can you think of anything else? I'm just
Yeah.
to wrap up because I know we have to go. Can you think
Sure.
of anything else that you'll say later? Boy, I sure wish I told this story or that story, or.
I don't think so. I think I've told what I know and what impressed me, and not only impressed me, but the toughest part of the battle that I went through. And I mean, I was with it from start to finish, of course, and I was just extremely fortunate that I did not get wounded, and I pray to God that, or thank God that I didn't, but I appreciate what some of these other fellows got. Many were killed and many wounded, and because in the short period of time that we did our fighting, which was from basically February through March, we lost many men, 900 and close to 1,000 men, and I guess around 4,000 some odd wounded. And I just thank God that I was able to come through it without anything happening. How or why, I don't know, but I don't ask.
What do you want me to do?
Mr. Wife. Start by giving me